Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday morning today. It is Wednesday, isn't it?
It is.
Yes. And Mum and I have just arrived in York.
Hello. Got a cup of tea.
Yes. Yeah, we're both sitting with our tea because we were off really early this morning to be sure to get here when it was still fairly quiet and stuff on the weekday. And so Mum made us a flask of tea, so we're just having tea and a mince pie at the moment.
Yes.
Before we have a little wander through the city. We're not far from York, and I'm really excited to have an explore because we haven't been to York since we actually moved to Yorkshire. But we've both been to the city, haven't we?
Yes, we have. We love it.
Yeah, we do. We really love it. So we wanted to come just to have a look around before Christmas, and I'm really excited to be in York again. So really looking forward to the day, but we're going to just finish our tea.
Yeah, and then we'll take you with us.
Yes, go round York together. So we've just walked into York up towards the Minster, and we've already spotted a lovely looking bookshop that we'll have to come back to because it doesn't open quite yet. There's a children's bookshop that's open and we'll have a look in, and then right next door there's this lovely bookshop that also has a little exhibition of Ed Cluse's artwork, and I love his artwork, so really good timing. I'm going to pop in and see that later. Our first stop was the Blue House Bookshop, which is a charming children's bookshop situated on Bootham in York. This runs alongside the ancient site of St Mary's Abbey, and indeed the back wall in the bookshop is part of the former Abbey wall, probably dating from around the 12th century. The rest of the building was added in Tudor times, so it's a bookshop full of history. The Blue House Bookshop stocks a range of children's books with a few adult books, and there are some lovely titles to browse. We had a wonderful time looking through this charming little shop. I found some of the Carol and Duffy books, and I don't have this one, which is The Wren Boys.
That looks lovely.
It does. I love her little Christmas poetry books.
They are.
I think I'll get this one.
This is charming upstairs, isn't it?
It is. It's such a beautiful bookshop. I mean, magical for children.
Really lovely. I just think it's very special.
It is. On leaving the bookshop, we made our way to the York Walls. One of my favourite things to do in York is to walk along the city's ancient walls. York has been defended by walls since Roman times, and today much of the medieval walls are left that surrounded the city in the 13th century. Apparently, York has more miles of intact defensive wall than any other city in England, so doing the wall walk is a must if you're visiting the city. We were lucky to have the walls almost entirely to ourselves, so we could pause to admire the beautiful views of York Minster and listen to its chiming bells. After our walk along the walls, we headed for York's most famous shopping street, the Shambles, which is one of the best preserved medieval shopping streets in Europe and is reputed to be the inspiration behind Diagon Alley as seen in the Harry Potter films. We stopped off for a delicious brownie at Bluebird Bakery before heading on for more book shopping. Fossgate is one of our favourite streets in York, as it's crammed full of interesting independent cafes and shops, as well as picturesque buildings and narrow passageways. We headed to Fossgate Books, a beautiful bookshop filled with second-hand and antiquarian books. Their collection of folio books is particularly impressive and very hard to resist. Next on our bookshop tour was the Minster Bookshop, huddled near the entrance of York Minster, on a street that has been associated with the book trade since 1580 and was formerly known as Bookland Lane. A sign depicting Minerva, goddess of wisdom and drama, leaning on a pile of books, can be seen near the shop. Minster Bookshop is a treasure trove of second-hand and discounted new books, and it's easy to spend a very long time browsing the fabulous shelves that span 5 floors of this beautiful Georgian townhouse. Finally, we headed back to Janette Ray Bookshop on Bootham, where we admired the Edcluse paintings on display in the windows and the bookshop's collection of rare and out-of-print books with a focus on art and architecture. After a fabulous morning, walking around York and of course doing some book shopping, we headed back home, where I'll be sharing the book purchases that I made. Hello again. So when we got home from York, it was really dark, even though it wasn't actually that late. So I thought I'd wait and show you the books that I bought during our time in York with you today, because hopefully you'll be able to see them a bit better. Mum and I had the best time. It was so fun. York is such a beautiful city. I've been a few times before, but I hadn't been for about 3 years. So it was really special to go back. It was magical at Christmas, lovely to see some Christmas lights, and just walking along the walls and enjoying the beautiful views of York Minster was really special. What also makes York very special for us is that there are some fantastic bookshops, both new bookshops and books that stock second-hand books. And those are just like treasure troves for Mum and me. So we had a really fun time, and I could have gone wild, but I had to restrain myself a little bit. However, I did make some really lovely book purchases, so I wanted to share them with you. Our first one was from the Blue Door Bookshop, which was such a sweet little children's bookshop. If you have kids, it would be a really fun place to take them. I thought it was just charming. There were a few adult books as well and a few Christmassy titles, and I picked up one for me, and that is The Wren Boys by Carol Ann Duffy. I'll show it to you. As you know, I love Carol Ann Duffy's little poetry books for Christmas that she does, and this is one that I didn't have. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's about the tradition that I think originated in Ireland of the day after Christmas. There was a sort of a hunt, and they'd hunt the wren, or like a young boy, through the village or something. I haven't read it yet, I'm looking forward to it, but I've heard about this tradition before, and I'm looking forward to reading a poem about it. So this I know will be charming. And then, actually I'll do this in order of the bookshops we went to. So I think after that we went to Fossgate Books, which is a really lovely secondhand bookshop. It's so pretty, the front of it. It just is like the quintessential bookshop look. And it's crammed with some really lovely books. And I really did have to restrain myself in there because a lot of the titles were quite expensive. But it's definitely the place to go if you're looking for a special gift, even if it's a gift to you, or you want to treat yourself, or you want to treat someone special. You can really find some beautiful editions of books in there. However, I felt I got a bargain because they also had a little display of Christmas books, which was lovely. And I found this one, Christmas Carols from Village Green to Church Choir by Andrew Gant. I'll show it. And this sounds fascinating. I loved the cover, for one thing. It really caught my eye. I love Christmas carols, and this is a bit of history about some of the most famous carols that we sing at Christmas time. And I'm really interested in learning a bit more of the history behind these songs. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. It sounds like a very interesting book, and just the sort that I'll enjoy reading over the Christmas holidays, hopefully too. I'll put some carols on in the background and settle down with this and maybe a glass of sherry and a mince pie, and it will feel blissfully festive, I know. So I'm looking forward to this one. And then I went to the bookshop that's right by the Minster. I think it's called Minster Books or something like that, and it's also utterly charming. Really love it there, and I picked up a few secondhand books from there as well. I picked up this one, which is The Girls of St. Cyprian's. It's an Angela Brazel book. I was never such a fan of Angela Brazel when I was young, and I read a lot of boarding school fiction, and I never really collected many of her books. I think I found them, I mean, they're all of their time, But I found these even more sort of dated and old-fashioned, and it was just harder for me to get into her stories. But a lot of them have really charming covers, and I was just really taken with this one. And I thought it would be fun to give her another go, see what I think now. And it was really not very expensive, so I picked it up. And what I also love about these old books are the illustrations in the side, the black and white plates. I just find those so charming. This one's coming out of the book a bit, but I think there are a few through the book. You can see another one here. And I just find those really quite charming. So that's one of the reasons why I quite like to pick up a book like this when I see it and it's, you know, really not very expensive at all. So I picked up that one. Then I was absolutely delighted to find this book. It's called The Far Distant Oxus, and it's by Catherine Hull and Pamela Whitlock. I read this story as a young girl and I really loved it, and there's a wonderful story behind this, and my copy of this book got left behind in Long Island when we moved to France when I was 15, and I'd forgotten about it, and then I saw it again at the Minster Bookshop and I was so thrilled because it brought back my memories of how much I'd enjoyed this book and how inspiring I found it, because like I said, there's a special story behind this one. The two authors were in fact only aged like 15 and 16, I think, when they wrote this book, and they were huge fans of Arthur Ransom. And they bundled up their manuscript of this and posted it to him, asking him if he would like to read it. And if not, maybe the swallows or the Amazons would. Well, Arthur Ransom did read it, and he was so impressed by the book and by these two young schoolgirls that he sent their manuscript to, I think it was his publisher that he sent the book to, and the publisher loved it as well and agreed to publish it. And it's just the most charming story. I mean, you can't tell it's written by children. It's excellently written. It is rather in the style of Swallows and Amazons, in that it's about a group of children who go off, they stay at a farm and they have adventures together. They meet a friend in the area, they ride ponies over the moors, you know, all that sort of thing. And I absolutely loved it as a child. And so I was really overjoyed to find it again. And there's a really excellent introduction by Arthur Ransom in here, explaining how he first read the book, some of the letters he exchanged with the young writers, what he thought of it, how they went about the process of publishing it. He writes so charmingly about it, and also about the two young girls and how amazing they were, in that he said they had this real instinct, not only for writing novels, but for knowing exactly how to edit their own work and how professional they were about it, and how impressed he was that they'd written this together. They both knew each other from school, and they sort of wrote it in every spare moment that they had. They kept it secret from everyone else. And so the whole story behind this book is just utterly charming, and it's one of the reasons why I really love it too. They actually went on to write some sequels as well. They're really hard to find, they're also very expensive. This edition is really tatty, it's missing most of the dust wrapper, and my edition back at home, back in New York, is much better, but I was just so happy to have a copy again, and it was £2, so I really couldn't turn it down, and I'm excited to reread it. I think it'll bring back a bit of my childhood too. It's so wonderful when you rediscover a book that you loved and then kind of forgot about, and then suddenly have it again. So I'm excited to reread that one. And then I also picked up this book, which this is one of the reasons I love YouTube. I could never really show a book like this on Instagram. However fun Bookstagram is, it is so geared towards, you know, pretty books, that can be frustrating. So I absolutely love the fact that on YouTube I can show you a book like this that no one would ever pay attention to on Instagram. But it's Another World Than This by Vita Sackville-West and Harold Nicholson. No dust wrapper, but again it was £2. And look at the beautiful end papers. I love that. They're really stunning. And it's an anthology compiled by Vita Sackville-West and Harold Nicholson, and there's some lovely poems in here. You know how much I love poetry, so I'm really going to enjoy reading this. It sort of goes through the months as well. Here it says June, and there are some lovely poems set all through it. So I'm really excited to have picked this up again just really reasonably, and I think it looks like a fabulous anthology. And then finally I got this book, Sketches in Stable and Kennel, and I actually got this one free, I think, because at the Minster books, if you buy so many books then you get one free. So I chose this one, and why I chose it is because I absolutely love Lionel Edwards. He both wrote and illustrated this, and he's really famous for his horsey illustrations. So let me try and show you one, because they're real works of art. You can see this. And I've always loved his work. I love horses, even though I don't ride. You can see some of the sketches as well. And so I was really, really thrilled to pick this up. There's another one. And I think they're just beautiful, of the countryside too, the sort of British countryside. And I love his illustrations of the countryside. Here's one, as well as of horses. So I think that that's really quite special, and like I said, I just love to pick something like that up. In this case it was a free one, which was lovely. So those were the books that Mum and I found and are so pleased with. Do let me know if you've ever been to York. I'd love to know, and if you went book shopping there, or if you're now tempted to go book shopping there yourself. There are actually lots of other bookshops that we couldn't get to, and I mean, I'm obviously going to go back, because it just seemed like there was a bookshop around so many corners, which was amazing. But so there were certainly some that we didn't make it to. So let me know if you have a favourite bookshop there that I missed going to, but would definitely want to go again. So yeah, let me know if there are any you can recommend. But I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're all having a lovely December. Thanks so much for watching.